So I don't want to, I mean, when we have it, we have it. We'll get it to you as soon as we can.
Okay, that's fine. But I'll put it on the agenda, and if we don't have it, we don't have it. Alderman Roy Wesley.
My question was, why don't you ask Mr. Kramer when he's gonna be ready for it? And Jeff just answered.
I just did.
Okay, but I still want to see on the agenda if we don't have the stuff, because I know what happens with stuff on the agenda, it gets taken off. We don't revisit. So that, I have a motion, I have a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6 is brush pickup contract options. John, want to take us through this really quick here? It's basically what we talked about on the brush pickup. Go ahead, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you. Several months ago, we talked about brush collection, brought in several options. The committee elected to go back and investigate contracting it out. So staff has put together a new contract. I wanted to get the consensus on the months that I put in there and basically the alternative to allow for a separate pickup in the needs of storm pickup. So basically what you have before you, I had spelled out, in my notes, I had 6 months, and I've been asked prior to the meeting that it was actually 5 months. So if we needed to drop off that April, it would just be June, July, August, September, and October. So that would be the amount that I would send out to contract. And my question would be, does the city council want me to go for a 3-year contract, a contract that's less than that? Do you want me to go out to contract now? Do you want me to wait until right before budget time? Again, we could do it a myriad of different ways. I just wanted to get your input before I put something out to public bid and then bring it back to you, and that's not ultimately what everyone wants. So the options tonight would be the number of months, the alternate on the getting a T&M price for storm collection, and then ultimately, when do you want me to bid this? Do you want the numbers before we do budget selection? Do you want it to come in April right before the bid? Or do we want to elicit something now to a contractor when perhaps they may have some availability?
Okay. Mr. Coles?
Okay, here we go. All right. I suggest that we put May back in, because people will start cutting stuff in April, and then you ain't gonna pick up for May. They'll put the stuff alongside the street, and you'll forget about May that doesn't have any pickup, and you'll have stuff there for a month. I agree with you that you should, put bids out early enough to get something so we have something to work on when it comes on a budget. And what was the third thing that you wanted? What?
Mr. Kramer?
Just the alternate for T&M, the ability to use the contract and have a T&M price. So if we do have a bad storm that goes through,
okay.
that's off month or outside of the regular pickup, we have a price. We can contact the contractor. If the city council so chooses, we can elect to use that T&M price to do emergency pickup.
All right, I suggest that you put that in writing, that you have an alternate in case we have a storm like we had before. Now, we blew out a chipper, and we blew out guys that were working 6 days a week or 7 days a week last time, all because of not having a brush pickup, and we couldn't do it all ourselves. So I would suggest that we could spend money on engineering, we can spend money on getting things done for the city. And that's the way I look at it. Now, everybody has their own opinion. We blew it last year, let's not blow it this year. Thank you.
Alderman Roy Wesley, you had your hand up?
Yep.
Okay.
John, I'd like to see the bids, the price before the budget, so we know what to put in the budget. But I also like to see the bid put as 5 months and also a 6 month. To see where that extra month, as an option. Is that possible?
Mr. Kramer?
Absolutely. We can do it as alternates 5-month contract, 6-month contract. It's solely up to you. The only thing I would ask is just tell me what months you want it.
Well, in return with that, John, I think you would know where our slow months are by now, where the brush pickup is. And you're probably gonna say none, which is fine, but I think that the city could pick up the slacks in some areas too. So, to keep the cost down. And
Okay,
that slow month is up to you.
so. Mr. Kramer,
The slow months are November and March. Outside of that, there are no slow months for brush pickup.
Well, December, January, February too.
Christmas tree pickup.
Okay.
okay, Mr. Woods?
I was just going to say, use the June to October for the 5-month period and then throw May in there. They might lessen the price and give you that, knowing that there's not going to be that much pickup. I'm sure that they factor that in, knowing, these months are going to be heavy and these months are going to be light. And to part of Alderman Coles, we still get our regular garbage pickup does pick up branches and stuff if we bundle them. I don't see anybody chopping down a tree in April. So I think that would cover it, and thank you.
So right now, this proposal is from April, June, July, August, September. I got April. But I'm just laying it out there, so we're looking to eliminate April and make it May. That's what I'm saying. Is that what we want?
I want to add May into it.
Joe wants to add May. We're going to get a price of May through October is one option,
April through October.
and April through
And
October.
would alternate if they want to drop April, drop April.
So we adding 7 months to this proposal?
No, 6
No.
months.
No, you ain't. April, May, June, July, August, September, and October.
No, April's out.
You're taking April out.
April's out altogether. We're going to go, the first option will be June through October. The second option is May through October.
All right. Then that would be 7 months, yeah. Okay. We'll see what happens.
How many months we're doing?
5, 6.
Well, Mr. Kramer,
As the way I understand it right now, it'd be 5 months in the contract hard written, June, July, August, September, and October. There would be an alternate for May as the 6th month that the city could elect to take per the contract or not elect to take. That's the way I understand it as of right now, as opposed by Alderman Woods and Alderman Coles.
That is correct.
well, did you get that? That is my motion. I have a second. Did you get that motion that John made? Okay. So, all in favor? Mr. Kramer?
I just need 2 other points of clarification. Am I authorized to put in the contract an alternate for T&M price for emergency storm pickup?
Yes.
And number-
Yes.
And number 2 is, do you want the results? When do you want me to bid this? Do you want me to bid this now and have the option to sign it May 1st? Do you want me to bid it right before budget time in late March, early April?
Why, my suggestion is send out in February, come back with the prices, and then we'll decide. Then we'll know exactly how much it's gonna cost and how much we got to do the budget. So that's like, let's get it out early for bid.
I concur.
So, all right?
All
Got
right, why don't you
direction?
make a roll call?
What?
Why don't you make a roll call on this? Just to make everybody say that,
All in favor?
no, roll call, make a roll call.
Why? There's no money being spent. All right, roll call it.
Okay, never mind.
Roll call it.
Alderman Roy Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky. Alderman Eugene Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara,
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
Oh, the first pickup was done with-
One opposed. Okay,
You're gonna have me. You're gonna have me.
item number 7. Report recommendation to the LED lighting, streetlight test pilot program. Want to sum that up anymore, or? Mertz.
Yeah, the memo you have in your packet outlines a proposal given to us by a company that presented to the Clean Air Counts Committee, GNP Energy. They've got an interesting product, a retrofit product that'll fit all of our existing lamps in the city, provide for the equivalent of savings of 314 tons of pollutants going into the air a year in the city. Before we would proceed on and do any of these retrofit kits, we're proposing doing some pilot locations to see how they work with our lights, see the illumination, if they're safe. We have no reason to think that they don't. We talked with engineering, public works, everything seems to be okay. There's no cost to get these pilot lights in, so it would be staff's recommendation to do these test locations before we proceed on with the program. And I don't know if Alderman Winger, Chair of Clean Air Counts, has anything that she'd like to add.
Not really, that's pretty much what I was going to say, the overview. And then we expect that if it is a success, the pilot, that when we do the installation across the city, it would be a 3-year return on investment and then savings there on forward. So it definitely is it looks like a benefit, and the lighting quality is probably going to be better. So it's definitely worth a try to do the pilot.
Can I ask one question? On these, do we have any other towns that use these lights? Do they provide any information at the committee of any other towns that may be using these already?
Currently, they're not working with any other towns. I don't know if any other towns have worked with anybody else on the LED lights. They have installed LED lights for, mall parking lots and other areas in the state. But this company specifically hasn't worked with any other municipalities in the area that I'm aware of.
All right. Mr. Woods?
Just one question. They're going to do these, whatever, 3 or 4 test sites, let's say, and there's no cost, and this is not part of a contract or any other obligation. Is that correct?
That's correct. We haven't signed anything. The only thing we would have to do is if, obviously we like the lights, we'd have to pay to keep them, but they would tear them out if we don't like them, and they'd put our originals back in. So we haven't signed anything, nothing like that. It's just a free sample, essentially.
Okay. Well, then I would say let's put them in and see how they look.
Wait a minute.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Mr. Frank Pizarro. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do we know what the cost is to convert?
Yeah, we do. I think for all the lights in the city, I believe it was between 240 and 260,000, somewhere in there. Right off the bat, we qualify for an $80,000 grant right off the bat, so you can knock off 80,000. So it would be 170,000 instead of 240 to 260 range, and they fill out the grant paperwork for us and secure that money.
Just follow.
I know we just passed a light contract that we're going to put in these new lights. Should we wait before we do this, if we're going to test this out? In other words, if we're going to spend this $340,000 some odd dollars, Go ahead, John.
The new contract that we signed for the Wooddale Road lights is for LED light fixtures in the Sternberg poles that are there. I would not recommend retrofitting the existing brand-new Sternberg poles with these LED retrofits. I would leave them with the existing Sternberg LED lights. That's what we bid and that's what we asked. We know those function together. I would look to replace those with the Sternbergs. Just because we're looking for a specific light in that prairie style light, the control cabinet was all designed for that LED system. We did that as part of it. The other older Wooddale Road lights, if we look to do conversion assemblies down the line to match LED for the incandescent replacement, we can look at different conversion assemblies and see where we get the best bang for our buck, both from the savings of LED versus incandescent and also the savings on the retrofit kits. But for right now, I would stay with the Sternbergs. I wouldn't look to get a carcass Sternberg light and try and put this LED conversion in there. That would be my recommendation.
So the new lights are going to be LED. So are we going to have two different lights as far as looks when we go down Wooddale Road?
As of right now, correct. The current ornamental lights that are on Wooddale Road are not LEDs. They are incandescents. They were put in up until last year with the incandescent light fixture in them. They are convertible to an LED, obviously, because Sternberg has the same poles. As of right now, I would probably recommend put in the new LED Sternberg poles on north and south leg, and then I would look at the difference that you get between the look of the light quality. The LED on the north and the south leg are obviously going to be whiter than the yellow hue that we have now. I would look at matching those some way, either by a retrofit LED bulb in the existing incandescent fixture to get the look that you want. And then if you want to budget for those retrofit kits, you would do those at a later date.
But would we know if these retrofit kits would be the same type of illumination as the new LEDs that we're putting in? I mean, are they all standard or?
I know the retrofit kits that the company's proposing have different illumination factors. The goal is to match our new LEDs with these retrofit LEDs.
So it's easy to match.
That's the goal, yeah.
Mayor, please.
Jeff, question. So if we like the five that are at no cost, but like you said, 180,000, if we're doing a flood buyout policy, we're gonna do some stormwater studies, and we're gonna fix some areas that are flooding, and we don't have the 170,000. Does that mean they're gonna come in and change them back to the old way, or they're gonna leave us those five? Just out of curiosity.
No, they're changing them back to the old way.
They will.
Yeah, they also, if we don't want to just pay for it in a lump sum, there is a financing option. I don't recommend that. We have the money. It's going to be in a CIP proposal that Mr. Wilson's working on. Plus with the $80,000 grant, it's plausible we can get it done.
But just so we know, so we're putting these in, if we like them, we're buying them. Is that what
If we like them, we would have to pay for them. Yeah, it's not free.
Okay.
I have actually two questions. The lights that are being installed, how long is a trial basis on these lights? There's got to be are they saying a year? How long?
I would defer to however long engineering and public works think we need to test them. The company did not stipulate any time parameters. They've been very cooperative with us. I mean, it's essentially up to us.
Okay, my other question, on the pole on Elizabeth Drive, and is that our road? Is that our roadway? Mr. Kramer?
We have a maintenance agreement for the care and the operation of those lights. So technically, the road has been turned over to us. The lights have been turned over to us as a maintenance agreement. We were just looking for nominal pole spacing and in areas that we can basically mirror image. We know there's a light at one location on Elizabeth, we can go to Raleigh Court down the way, which looks exactly the same. Are we getting the same light quality there and there? Same with the industrial park location, nominal pole spacing, same height. You can look down Central Avenue and you can see if there's a difference in the light quality as you're driving, that's going to be obvious. It's a different thing to put a pole at an intersection where you have 300-foot spacing. It's very difficult to tell the quality of the light on those. So that's why we picked those locations. And then the other one was the City Hall parking lot, actually. So we had a parking lot to base it off of as well. We'll be paying the key is to look during those conditions where incandescent lights traditionally have excelled. Snow conditions, you want to make sure that when that light's on, can you see during adverse conditions, rain, snow? Does the snow stick to the light? There's always been an issue with LED fixtures and not producing enough heat to melt that off of it. So those will be all things we'll be looking at.
Okay. So is everyone, I'll obtain a motion to concur with staff to do a pilot program on these lights. That will be my motion.
Second.
All in favor? Questions? On the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, report and recommendation, city ice rink. John, want to take this through this?
Thank you. Staff was asked to weigh in on putting an outside ice rink. I drew up a couple options. Staff doesn't recommend it solely for the fact that there's some overtime involved that we did not factor for this year, and the inconsistent Chicago winters. In a past life, I worked for the city of Aurora and worked second shift and was responsible for a crew of staff that did some recreation items, including making ice and warming shelters and making snow and snow hills in the city. So I have a fairly diverse background in recreation activities in the winter. It can be done. I spoke with Ray Chaucy, Superintendent of Parks for the Wooddale Park District. They used to make ice up at the by the junior high at the tennis courts, I believe, if that's correct. And he told me that the amount of overtime that was used was fairly costly, and they couldn't consistently get good ice during the winter. So that's basically what I based my decision off of, my previous work experience and Ray's recommendation. It can be done. We can buy kits, we can grade off an area, we can do whichever the council would like. Again, there's going to be a cost associated with it. There's going to be a fairly large maintenance cost associated with it. And again, as we can all tell by the weather, even though I would love to have 6 inches of snow and 30-degree temperatures every day, we don't have it.
Okay. Mike, you care to add into this? I mean, because I know you brought it up. So, Mr. Woods,
How do they do it in the city? Do they refrigerate that, and is that a possibility? I don't know that you could get it done this year, but maybe looking at it's at least a good concept, and it would be a nice thing if we could do something along that line.
Mr. Kramer.
Correct. They do use a chiller. They bring in, a unit that's basically a freezer, and they run lines underneath an area, and they freeze a section of water, skate on state, similar to that. You can rent that for a period of time, like a party rental. So if you want to do that for a period of time, I guarantee I can get you the cost on it. I didn't really look into it because, quite frankly, I thought that was going to be very cost prohibitive.
Could you, just for the sake of this conversation, because I think it's, a fairly good idea, if we could do something and at least that way we'd figure out what the costs are.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
So, Alderman Roy Wesley.
If we're gonna go looking at cost, like, what's the liability for insurance and stuff? And I don't wish we don't have 6 inches of snow.
Okay.
Staff raised this issue with Attorney Bond, and he inferred that there's not much liability as long as we would put out some signage out there with verbiage that he would suggest, and essentially that would be it. Some signage.
Okay. Is
Something about the Tort Immunity Act, but don't ask me to elaborate.
there anything else on that? So I will, make you get directions to go ahead, Mr. Kramer.
I'm not going to put another packet together. I'll just include in the information items
Yeah,
my rental
that's fine.
costs. And if you'd like us to investigate that further, we can do that.
I would like you to go and see what it would cost for that. It's only a phone call. So that was item number 8. Okay, we're going to item number 9. Report of recommendation on contract award to Baxter and Woodman for Sunnyside Prospect Charmio Century Avenue Water Main Replacement Design Engineer Service not to exceed $64,000. That is my motion. Questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, report on reclamation, contract agreement with Baxter and Woodman Salting Engineering Service. You guys read the agreement, that will be my motion.
Second.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Before I vote on this agreement, I always have a difficult time with this chart here. And I see some dates here. Again, it says, no action at this period dated 10/28/11. And I'm always seeing dates, it says completion estimated. It's 2 months old and it's still on here. Are these jobs not getting done when I'm reading task completed this period? No activity for this period? I mean, are they not getting done, or tell me something? I've talked to Elle about this before, and we've talked about these dates before, and they still continue.
Mr. Kramer.
Traditionally, those dates are staff-driven. We normally give direction to Baxter and Woodman if we want a project worked on. Additionally, if there's any specific projects, you can ask me, or I can provide you more up-to-date information, or I'll confer with Al as well. But traditionally, those are staff-driven. So if there's no action taken, that's because either I, Jeff, or any of the other individuals that work with engineering have directed them either not to do anything further, or they're holding, waiting for further information from staff.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, so that is my motion. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the final item number 10, report, nope, so item 11, report and recommendation, HR Green contract award for engineer of treatment plant. This is a contract award to HR Green to oversee the wastewater treatment plant construction for $1,587,600. That is my motion to approve. Second, Alderman Roy Wesley.
I have some questions. The price that you just named, it doesn't have anything about, this is a construction engineering as the design of it at all. That does not include any of this, correct?
The design is not in here. This is to oversee the construction of being built.
Okay, I guess my next question is, since we came off with the cost of the estimate cost of how to build this treatment plant, which was what, 6%?
First,
My
Go
numbers
ahead.
might be wrong.
Alderman Wesley, are you asking if there's a chance that this cost proposal may go up? Is that what you're inferring?
That's exactly where I'm headed. right
I'm
now.
gonna turn it over to Mr. Poppin from HR Green to answer that.
Alderman Roy Wesley, the amount in the contract is based upon the scope of services that have been provided within the contract, and that price is the price for that scope of work for the complete construction as outlined in the scope from Phase 1 and Phase 1A and Phase 1B for the complete construction.
Okay, so I'm not gonna see extras on this.
As long as it's within inside of the scope of the services that are outlined in here, these are the costs associated.
Okay.
but keep in mind, the contract states that, but if there's something, once we start going into it, and it might have to change, there might, and we add a different item on this contract, and that's with any engineer contract, that if you start doing it, there may be an add-on that we added into here down the line. I see your point, believe me. But that's with any engineer contract that we, or construction engineer contracts that we award to any engineer. It's a scope that we put in there, but there might be something that we might have to add back into the scope that the IEPA may require, we need to add that in. So that is go ahead, Alderman Roy Wesley.
In response to that, since we had them do the design of it, I think they would know what we're getting and stuff. So the price should be pretty well close to it of not adding things in.
Again, what I'm saying, the state law changes daily down in the IEPA. There may be something that they may add in here that we didn't know or they didn't know. You know, for a license that we might have to have that came up that they changed. So I feel comfortable with this. Staff that sat with them felt comfortable with this. We ran the numbers, we worked with them. You know, I feel comfortable with it. I will ask Mr. Woods.
I'll just clarify a little bit because I had the same questions and I've talked to a few people, but those fees are fixed based on the scope of work, as Eugene said. So whether it's a law, rule, statute, or something that changes it, or the fact that this is a renovation, if they're tying into the foundation of one tank into an existing tank, and when they're tying into it, they find out that thing falls apart, well, the scope of work just increased. If they dig a hole for the foundation, and even though they did the soil borings, my experience has been you can bore here and 2 feet away bore, and you get different soil. So if those things come up that are beyond what a reasonable person could assess, up front, I think that they've done all their homework and their due diligence to give us a proper job. But if those things arise, then yes, we're going to incur extra cost in construction and, of course, extra cost in supervision. That's just the nature of the beast we're dealing with. Thank you.
Mayor, please.
Jason, just to verify, the price is for 1A and 1B, right? It's for all the way through.
It's for the complete construction,
Right,
yes,
and
both phases.
And naturally, if the IEPA comes up and says you have to put in those, not the clarifiers? Tertiary filters. Right, the tertiary filters for the phosphorus and nitrogen, then naturally, it's not in here, that's a different deal.
Right. Alderman Coles?
Well, I go along with this agreement to foresee when they tear a building down or they tear a piece down, they can never tell what they're gonna find. You may have to, when you're digging a hole, you don't know if that hole at 3 feet is gonna be solid or at 6 feet it's gonna be solid until you start digging it. So, I mean, they may find that they drill a hole and they tap water right away, and there ain't supposed to be any water in that hole. So, I mean, that's something you can't foresee. Whenever you take anything apart, you can't foresee what you have to repair. So, I mean, you can't, you can give a price to something and you can't stick back of it because something else goes wrong while you're doing it. So, I mean, you can't hold them to that. There'll be orders coming in, for extra money on every job that I've ever seen. You see it on streets, you see it on houses and everything else. So, I mean, you can't go by that. So.
Any other questions?
As Alderman Wesley stated, staff did review this. Baxter and Woodman, our consulting engineers, did review it with a fine-tooth comb. It was quite a lengthy process. I know, Alderman Wesley, you were at one of the meetings, so we do feel totally comfortable moving forward with the contract. It was a little bit of a lengthy process, but we did beat up H.R. Green, as you can tell by Mr. Coggin's crutch. So we are comfortable.
Okay, so that is my motion. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Since we are spending money, this kind of money, we will do a roll call vote on this one.
Alderman Roy Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes. Mike, come on in order.
Alderman Sizmarsky,
Yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara,
Yes.
Alderman Woods.
Yes.
Yes. Could I, John, could you just give us update when are we going out for bid, just really quick? For they know. I believe Jason.
Bids for the treatment plant?
Yes.
I'm going to defer to Ed or Jason.
Short and sweet. When are we going out for bid?
The schedule for bid letting is March 8th, 2012 for Phase 1A. Notice to proceed April 17th. Phase 1B bid letting is March 7th. Construction completion dates May 31st of 2013. And then construction for 1B completion is September 19th of 2014.
Mayor?
I thought we were going out to bid before and we would have the bids come mid-March, early April at the latest, because then we were gonna have a discussion on the water and,
The Phase 1A bid will be March 8th is when we will open the bids. So
but
we'll-
you're gonna open them,
we're
you're
gonna
not
open
going
them.
out for bid.
No, that's the bid letting, that's the bid open date.
Okay, the opening.
Yeah, we'll be going out for bid in early February, possibly late January.
Right, but keep in mind, we cannot award the bid until we got the permit from the IPA for the first phase. So,
Right, okay. That's better.
that's it. Okay. Merry Christmas. Item number 12, item future meetings. Do I have anything? No items? I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'm done. Thank you.
Take a 5-minute break.
And Judicial Committee, roll call, everybody's here from last time. Okay. Approve the meetings, the minutes of the meetings of November 10th, 2011. Do I have that's my motion?
Second.
All in favor? Anybody?
Aye.
Anybody got any questions? Okay, passed. Okay. Number 4, report amendment of code to change Oak Meadow Drive to no parking zone, and also, if possible, we could get some lights put up there, maybe sometime. So we'll put that in with the amendment, and I'd like to, that's my motion. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah.
Frank?
Yeah. Just to let the rest of the council know, there is 4 residents that are definitely against the removal of the parking. Their concerns are where their guests are going to park, once they come, with visitors and, birthday parties, what have you. They're concerned about where they're going to be able to park. The main concern that group of houses have is not, even though there is obviously one resident that is concerned about that parking, but the majority of them aren't concerned about the no parking as too much as their concern is about the lighting, about that safety end of it. My feelings after canvassing that area is to leave the no parking zone finished. I don't want to see that happen, and I don't think a lot of the residents over there do, because of the parking concern. But I really do feel that our focus should be on getting lighting there. And maybe that would even help with the parking situation where you can see those cars better. Or maybe make some kind of arrangement where they park a little bit further back or whatever so they can see that coming traffic. So again, I don't feel that the no parking zone would really help that area because of the issue of where do they park. And again, my concern would be to make sure that they got adequate lighting over there.
Chief Fester?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and just some historical background on this. This area has been the source of some resident complaints over the last couple of years. I don't know how many residents have complained about it. There's one in particular that's brought this up for a couple of years. And we kind of addressed it anecdotally as a police department last year, looking at some pictures and some overall stuff. And kind of where we got to the point that this came to a head was the continued complaints about cars parking near that intersection. And quite honestly, the police department, we're not traffic engineers. We might have some certain recommendations and be able to pull some data, but that's why we went to the city engineers and looked for their recommendation. We haven't necessarily experienced a ton of problems down there, but it needed to be addressed. And, certainly when this was coming to a discussion, you had spoken to some of the residents and there was some other suggestions to look into. And I think the one that was most palatable was some type of lighting, as long as we followed the city policy for adding streetlights. So I don't want to say that it's not just a handoff to council to to decide if there should be no parking down there, but it was getting to the point that we knew some people were upset there was parking. At the same time, some people want parking down there, and we're going to make at least one person happy. We're going to upset several other people, which we realize, but that's the only reason is we followed what the engineers recommended. So.
Mike?
How many spaces are we talking about as far as how many spots are we talking about?
You can probably fit on the northeast side of the intersection, 4 to 5 cars. On the northwest side of the intersection, maybe 2 to 3 safely. A similar area to that is a block east of there, which is at Oak Meadows and Woodside. That happens to be a turn lane there. I don't know why it was constructed that way, you know, when the road was resurfaced. From my historical knowledge, before that road was surfaced, I don't believe there was pavement there, so it wasn't an issue.
There was pavement there.
There was, okay.
There was pavement.
So, that's about how many spots there are.
There was pavement there, but it wasn't marked. It wasn't marked. Anybody, the mayor?
Yeah, actually, I had somebody, actually one of my neighbors called me about 2 weeks ago because somebody he knows lives in that area right there and saying, hey, how come we're losing our parking? Don't you live next to the mayor? Could you ask him if that's going on? He asked me. I go, well, I know they're looking into it. I know we looked into it before with former chief but back then we had problems. There was cars that were overnight constantly, was not moving. You can tell there was leaves there and whatnot. And at that time, the chief came through, line of sight and this and that. He goes, really, Nunzio? He goes, the intersection is fine now that we've gotten rid of the cars that are in the way. Okay, you know, and I guess it's resurfaced again, from what I understand, but my question is, if we get rid of those, and I did call the neighbor and say, listen, if your friend or relative or whoever this is wants to make a comment, and it could be one of the people that Alderman Lazara received a response of, keep the parking, to come out to this meeting or the next meeting, the council meeting. But what happens if we get rid of these 5, 6 spots when these people are having guests and whatnot, and they start parking down Edgewood? Is Edgewood going to come up to us next, and then they're going to say, hey, these people are parking in front of our house all day. Get them out of here. Are we going to keep moving it?
I got something to say.
Go ahead.
There's a church, half a block away, that's got a big parking spot, which they can park all their cars there that they want, because they don't do nothing there all day long. And they could talk to the person that's in charge of the church, and I'm certainly sure he'd allow them to park there. They bought a house on a street that has no parking, and I'm sorry, but I go out there every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's dark, and I cannot see the cars coming from the stop sign on Central. And if there's a bad accident in it, the people that live in the house are not going to be hurt. It's the people that had the accident. And the first thing they're going to say, well, that car's in the way, I couldn't see you. And that's what's going to happen. And that's a black car, and it's there every morning at 6 o'clock, which I think there's no parking, from 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock to 4, or 2 o'clock to 5?
Yeah, that would be, they do to enforce the overnight parking down there, but I believe that one's moved out early in the morning.
Yes.
As someone leaves.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but we have to do something about it. And I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel, and if you want to not put the ordinance in, fine with me. I've done everything I can. Eugene?
I have a couple of questions that raise this. And my question is to us, do we own that whole entire street, or is this part of county?
I was told we own that street.
We own that parcel,
That yes, that is our jurisdiction there.
not the whole,
The area that we're discussing here.
okay. So the area that we discuss,
Is
we own
owned
that
by
part.
us.
We don't plow it though. I believe of county plows it. My concern here is, I see both sides of this argument here. I see the lighting issue. First of all, it's always been a policy that we do a survey of the whole entire area. My question is county even going to let us put lights on that, knowing
They
that
got
part of
one
that?
light there now. They got one street light there.
Okay. But, again, how many more streetlights are we looking to add in there?
I don't know.
But that's why I'm trying to ask my questions here, Joe, for they can answer it.
Yeah.
I mean, are we looking at adding 3, 4 streetlights there? I mean, you brought up the point that maybe the lighting will work. What are we looking for lighting? Are we looking for 3 or 4 in that small section? Because I don't know if county is going to allow us to put more streetlights. I don't know. They might, but I don't know. And then will be a cost share with the county on these lights. I don't know that either. My question is, the one car that is a big issue over there?
Cars.
Okay, I thought there was one.
You regularly have on the northwest corner a car park there, and fairly regularly on the northeast part of that intersection, you have another car park there.
Okay, do we know if these people are residents there at 6 o'clock in the morning that parks that car there?
Yes.
So, in order, and I'm looking at both sides of this, wouldn't it be feasible to call or send a letter to these people and saying, we have a little concern, safety concern, could you not put the car out there at 6 o'clock in the morning like everyone's saying it's out there at 6 o'clock in the morning? And maybe work with these people and not allow that to happen? Have we considered doing that yet?
Well, I believe Alderman Lazara did talk to the people in the area. We could certainly address it with them and see what the issues are. The one thing I did note in the memo is generally when you see cars parked out on the roadway there, their driveways are not full. So in my opinion, it's a convenience issue to leave it out there because then it's easier to move cars in and out. That's what I've observed. It's anecdotal evidence. We didn't go out and take a survey every day, but every time I've checked it out, there's never been a full driveway full of cars. It seems to be a convenience factor. And that's why we went to the engineer, because it comes down to what are the recommended guidelines, and they made their recommendation, and, that's why we're bringing it to you.
So my concern, again, like I said, wouldn't it be a lot easier to have staff or you write a letter to those people and say, we have a lot of complaints or safety concern over there. Could you work with us and park those cars in the driveway? Have we ever, I understand the Alderman did it already.
No,
But if we sent them a letter saying, we aren't going to fine them or anything, but.
Actually, I would prefer to do it in person if that's the case,
Well,
and I
Maybe
believe.
we should.
And what I'd have to check into is if that was done before, because I know this has been brewing for a couple of years and it was kind of addressed a year ago. But, if we wanted to delay action on this, we could make an effort to go down and talk to them and do that too.
I'd like to
We're
look at-
open to anything.
My opinion, I'd like to look at that we send our chief or a deputy chief or whatever, highlighting authority to go down there and bang on their door and say, explain to their situation that we are facing up here as a council. And then maybe we only have to visit this, that they agree we won't do it anymore, then we don't have to do this. That's my consideration. before
Well,
we jump.
perhaps if they know the alternative, they
Right.
may be willing to work with us. I don't know.
Mr. Woods?
Yeah, Chief, couldn't we, instead of the no parking, because I'm viewing it as in most neighborhoods here in the city, you can park on at least one side of the street, and it
can.
seems like we'd be taking that away from them. But that being said, Alderman Cole's point is, couldn't we go to hours of parking? So if there's an issue at 6 o'clock in the morning, that there is no parking from whatever, midnight to 7 o'clock in the morning, would that be better suited for solving the problem instead of, the broad base of eliminating the parking altogether?
Costs.
The lighting, I think, will help, but that's a separate issue and a separate avenue. What do you think about the parking the hourly parking issue?
And I am not trying to be vague on this. It's definitely an option. The ultimate issue is at any time of day, it could be a safety issue, but it possibly depends on how many cars are parked down there and what hours of the day that is. With the sun low at a certain, there's a number of factors that can be, and I'm not trying to be vague on this, but
Okay.
we'd certainly be willing to try something. but the engineers had made that recommendation that we just not have parking there. That's why this recommendation was brought forward, so.
Mrs. Winger?
Thank you. So a question and a follow-up question. So first being, are either of the two problem cars, do they park overnight?
No.
Okay, so they like get there early in the morning. They might work nights or something. Okay. And then secondly, why can't we just put no parking on the two corners of Edgewood? And then the blind spots are removed, because then the cars wouldn't be there. They'd have to park a little bit further down the street.
I had asked for what kind of a setback should we have there?
Yeah.
And that's where the engineers had recommended 330 feet based on the speed and the,
330.
this was based on the Illinois Department of Transportation, their roads and streets manual. So I did pose that as an alternative of, normally by city code, I believe we have a 20-foot setback from all intersections. I said, could we increase it back farther, that it would be an issue? And according to IDOT, they say on a local street, at that speed, it should be a much longer span. That's an option too, to, set it back 100 feet maybe. I don't know.
I got one thing to say. Now, I'm only going to say it once. I go there in the morning at 6 o'clock, and I come home at 3 o'clock, and both cars are still there. So that means that they don't move them all day long. All right? It's a silver car on the east side and a black car on the west side. And they're there every day, and you can go by there any time of the day, and they're there. So that's up to you to go by if you want to look. But I want to make a motion that we go along with this and make an amendment to the ordinance to have no parking signs there. And that's what I'm making. I'm making a motion. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second.
All right, Roy?
I'll go with the question. Greg, you're saying that the city owns the street, or just a section of where you're saying no parking?
No, we own the street from Central to the last house that's got a city number, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I was
both
informed
sides?
of, that we own.
Both sides.
Yes.
And we paid for that when they
Okay.
did it.
Okay. I guess my next question is, the people knew that the street how it was. Does this mean the city of Wooddale is going to supply parking for the people on Addison Road and Wooddale Road? We got houses there too, and on Irving Park. Are you going to supply extra parking for me on the parkway then?
Absolutely.
That's my point here in saying,
Same
might as
pro-
well supply parking for everyone then on every street and just have city parking lots. Besides a train station.
Well, we made our recommendation based on IDOT guidelines. That's what we have to go with, because
I understand.
my opinion doesn't necessarily, I just felt we should go with the engineer's recommendation for
All right,
this
I made a motion, it's
intersection.
been second. I'd like to take a vote on it.
The motion was. for no
Alderman
parking.
Roy Wesley.
Could you repeat the motion?
The motion is to put
Put
no parking in there with, if we can get lights put up, we can get lights put up. With on the, but just mostly no parking.
So I think she's confused on the motion.
Well, I just had that it was to, excuse me, to amend the code to change Oak Meadows Drive to no parking zone.
No parking zone.
That's the motion?
That's the motion. And additional lighting, if possible.
Shouldn't that be in two different motions, though? Because one's an ordinance to the municipal code, and one isn't.
Okay, we'll make two motions then.
We're
Thank you.
talking about the parking on the agenda.
Okay, for the first one, Alderman Roy Wesley?
This, we're voting on no parking.
No parking. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Alderman Coles?
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley? Alderman Winger?
Abstain.
Alderman Lazara?
No.
Alderman Woods?
No.
Okay. There's no use. No, what?
So we got three?
We got
Three
three, they got
yeses.
four.
3 noes and 1 abstain.
Well, one abstain.
And three yeses.
All right, the mayor has to decide.
Next week.